Oh, what's up, guys? This is SanchoWest, and welcome to another episode of CheckPoint Amigos podcast. And this is a special episode, E3 edition, and this is the one that's breaking down the Nintendo conference or the Nintendo Direct feed. And I brought my residential Nintendo guy, and it is no other person named Dr.Bacon. Say hello, Dr. Bacon.
Howdy, everybody.
There it is, Dr. Bacon. How are you today, sir?
I'm doing quite all right.
Fantastic. Look, for those of you who don't know, yes, Dr. Bacon is the only person that I know, will personally know on a really close-knit level, that has a Wii U out of B-Magic and my other buddy of mine that you haven't met yet, Cap. None of us have a Wii U, but you, Dr. Bacon, are the only one that has one.
I do, and I'm proud to say that I at least slightly won you over when I got you to play Zombie U on it.
Yes, Zombie U was an awesome game, and I remember playing that, and this is the thing that I'm going to talk about Nintendo for a brief second before we get into the actual Direct feed. Nintendo knows how to make games. It knows how to make games fun. It knows how to make time go by, and it brings me back to just sitting on the couch and wasting endless amounts of time, and that's what I was doing when we were playing Zombie U.
Oh, Zombie U was one of the best games that came out as a launch game for the Wii U. It was pretty much the only reason I bought a Wii U at the time. It was one of those great examples of how a third-party publisher, if they're given the time and the right amount of their accessibility to the Wii U hardware, they can make a great game. They made great use of the gamepad. I think it's still one of the better uses of the gamepad itself in a Wii U game. So I'm looking forward to what else Ubisoft can bring, as well as Nintendo, especially since that was at the beginning of the Wii U life.
All right, let's go ahead and do this. Let's go ahead and break down the Nintendo Direct feed, which is something completely different from all the other ones. And let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's talk about that, Dr. Bacon. What did you think about Nintendo not opting to do a live conference at E3 and instead of just doing a video? Did that kind of take it away for you, or did that make it better for you?
I think it made it better because they took their time to polish it up, make it look good. Anytime they did their examples of those first looks at the games, they didn't have to do it live, so there was no possibility of, there was one year, I think, when the Wii first came out, everyone had their cell phones out, and all that interference was there, so the Wii didn't interact with Miyamoto using the Wiimote as well as he wanted to. So you don't have that kind of interference there. You get to see the Wii U in action the way they want it to be in action in your own home. And I thought it was great. It was very condensed. That was a little... I didn't like that as much. I wanted to see more of it rather than saying, oh, that's all the time we have to squeeze in for all of these things. So if you want to see more, check out our booth. And it was a nice tease, but I wanted to know, at least tease us with what you got at the booth so I can have a reason to go there.
Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, my only complaint about that, if I had to be nitpicky about it, is you didn't get the sense or the hype or the buzz of the crowd, because Nintendo's Direct feed made some awesome announcements, and it had a lot of jaw-dropping moments and oohs and ah moments, but without that, it's just like you're by yourself making that noise. You know what I mean? You're just like, ah.
I agree. I got to admit, I was very surprised with how much my jaw dropped. I mean, I've always been a loyal Nintendo fan, but I will admit I've never really had my jaw drop at their digital press conferences or their E3 announcements as much as I had this year.
So let's go ahead and let's do this. Here we go. Let's start it off. Now, this is the way it's going to work, Dr. Bacon. If back with Sony's conference, what we did with B-Magic is we're going to go ahead and talk about the things we like about a certain part of the video and some of the things we dislike, and then something that we're worried about the game. So let's go ahead and get this started. And the first thing we're going to start off with the Direct feed that caught my eye. This is very interesting, and it is the introduction of the Amiibo, which is pretty much Nintendo's NFC initiative. So pretty much when Nintendo launched the Wii U, it's everybody, they have this gamepad, and we're all wondering how they're going to use this gamepad and whatnot, and what are they going to do with the NFC functionality. And basically, here it is. Essentially, it's basically Skylanders meets and Disney Infinity. It's Nintendo's answer to it, where they make these little figurines. But the big difference, though, Dr. Bacon, is that unlike those other guys, the Amiibo promises to work across several games. So it's going to be something that you could constantly use and not be stuck to one genre. And also, it's going to have access to the 3DS peripheral. Yes, and that is a big promise.
Yeah, they promised that, but that's the one that worries me. I'm worried if it's gonna be, a flash in the pan. Like maybe they're just trying to get the success that Skylanders and Infinity has. Uh, and maybe it'll get to a point where it's too much. Where there's the only way to unlock this move in Smash Brothers, or unlock this character in Mario Kart, or whatever game they have further down the line. Is the only way to do it is to buy these peripherals.
Bottom line, it's money, money, money. This is the overarching problem that I think the big cloud that is video gaming today, and it's the whole concept of DLC. And all this does is turn DLC into a physical toy figurine. Now, don't get me wrong. When I go to Target or I go to Walmart and I see Skylanders there and I put the little figurine on that little thing and it automatically pops on the screen, I think that's freaking awesome. But then I think about it. These are things that we used to have back in the day where in all concept, everything used to be included. There was no such thing as DLC because everything was finished and polished or something was unlockable. But now, even a character, just to have a character that you want to use in the game, you have to go buy it. And that's just ridiculous.
No, I wholeheartedly agree. I'm for the most part against DLC. Except for, a great example is The Last of Us. And that essentially that prequel game for it. Something where they didn't really plan to go with the game to begin with. That kind of DLC I'm totally down with. Other DLC like, get an alternate uniform. Here, get this brown helmet instead of the blue one you use in a game for $1.99. That I don't care. Oh, here's a new challenge map. No. We don't need that. Have it already in the game or don't have it at all.
That's a good point. I mean, we'll see. I mean, Nintendo, I always feel like Nintendo knows what it's doing, and I know that Nintendo is trying to capitalize on this market, which it's a fair open market, and it's trying to get its piece of the pie. So good luck to you, Nintendo. But I'm not gonna buy these little amiibos because I know the end game, and hopefully the people out there do not buy too many of these amiibos, and then Nintendo says, wow, this is the way we need to go, and then we're all in trouble, and it's going to ruin it for everybody. So I don't know. Right now, I say no to the amiibo, and they look cool, though, so just make regular figurines, though. Come on.
Sancho, I like that you bring up that it's a money grab, because I can't help but wonder if it's Nintendo's way of trying to get back some of the money they lost fiscally. This past fiscal year, they admitted they'd made a profit, but not as much as they wanted to, and they lost money earlier with the Wii, and the only real profitable one is the 3DS. So I think this is their attempt to get some of that money back, rather than say, okay, let's try another new system.
That's a good point. And now this will be the perfect segue. Now, a lot of the Nintendo Direct feed did not have like a lot of brand new announcements. A lot of it just let you see more features of a certain game, and one of the certain games is Super Smash Brothers, and they have a lot of announcements with that game, and also they actually had the first ever Nintendo sponsored invitational tournament for Super Smash Brothers, which is awesome in the competitive fighting scene. But one of the things they brought up in the direct feed was, which they kind of did in a very cheesy way, but they were talking about now that you could have Mii fighters in it, and basically every Mii fighter has the ability to have different fighting styles. There's a Mario-like brawler, and there's a sword fighter like Link, and a Mega Man-esque gunner. So here's the thing. I never owned a Wii, and only thanks to you, I only have my latest GameCube, so thank you to that. I plan to use it in the future. But personally, since you're the Nintendo guy here, what's your thoughts on this whole Mii business that Nintendo seems to never give up on?
I heard about it before I saw the conference. So my first thing was, people are just going to make weird things and put it in there. It's a little too customizable with some of the things you can get away with making on making a Mii. And then I watched the conference, and they basically addressed that issue. Lincoln swears in, Ice-T pours it on, which I thought was great. So they basically admitted, and he even said it, he gets too many requests for new characters. So this, I think, after seeing that, I think it's a great opportunity, Say you've always wanted to play in Super Smash Brothers as Kraid. You can, that's probably a bad example because it's kind of hard to make a Mii of Kraid. But, you can make another Nintendo character. You can make a Sega character. You can go in play as Doc Brown and hum your Back to the Future music to yourself while you play the game. I think it's a pretty good idea. Will I use it? Probably not. I'll probably stick to Samus or Pit, but I do like the idea of the Mii. I didn't like it at first, but reading more about it and watching the interview, it's won me over.
So bottom line, though, here's my direct question to you, pun intended. What is the Mii all about? Like, I know there's a whole thing in the Xbox of avatars, but what does having a Mii or your own person Mii, like, this has been since Wii Sports in the very beginning. What does that bring to your gaming experience? And I know I'm just being devil's advocate.
It's basically a representation of you, To give an example, instead of playing Super Mario Brothers, you could play Super Sancho Brothers because it's you in the level, not Mario.
Okay. All right. You're stroking my ego.
That's pretty much all there is to it. I mean, Nintendo, for lack of a better word, they're gimmicky. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but, it's just their style. So, you got your avatars and whatever for the Xbox and the PlayStation, where it's just your picture. And for the Wii, they decided, what if we could implement that picture a little bit more? Let's take it a little step further.
All right. It looks like on the next game that we're going to talk about, Nintendo is taking more steps forward in having individual games for their mascots, or sort of sub-mascots, I would say. And one of the things they introduced that was the most cutest thing out there, all the people out there were falling in love with it, was Yoshi's Woolly World, which is pretty much the creators behind Yoshi's Yarn-based adventure. Pretty much in the video, it kind of took a little bit, like they kind of went to a yarn store in the direct feed, and it was kind of hokey. And they had some really kick-ass yarn Yoshis, though.
I thought it was a nice glimpse into the work they put into making that game. I never played any of the Yoshi's World games before, but this one actually has me interested in checking it out. I'd never played Kirby's Epic Yarn Adventure, but for whatever reason, whatever they put into Yoshi's game, as well as the story of Yoshi, and on top of the mechanics and the visual styles, it's got me interested. I think I might actually check this one out when it comes out.
I mean, here's the thing. When I was watching it and I was sitting there looking at it, I was like, this is Little Big Planet. This is Little Big Planet with Yoshi, though.
I felt the same too. A little sack boy. I was thinking about that
right,
too.
I was sitting about there, and we all seen what happens when there's a game out there. For example, PlayStation All-Stars came out, and everybody was like, "Oh, this is a Super Smash Brothers clone." So when I was watching Yoshi's, I was like, "Wow, it looks nice." I mean, I'm happy to see Nintendo finally in the HD, and they're able to pump their muscles in that win. But I was sitting there, I was like, "Wow, this is cute," but this looks like Little Big Planet, and I feel like with the way it uses after seeing Little Big Planet 3 that uses the deaths and whatnot and all those different kinds of things, I was like, wow, this looks cool, but at the same time, Nintendo does not know how to do platformers like no other business.
Right. And, I'm glad you brought that up because I remember thinking throughout it, I wonder if they're trying to steal what Sony got with Little Big Planet. And honestly, I think it was just a coincidence because visually speaking, with Yarn, Kirby came out first. Not say it came out before Little Big Planet. I mean, it came out before Yoshi, but the Kirby game never reminded me of Little Big Planet at all. I think the progression of their visual style into Yoshi and their Yarn there, it visually reminded me of Little Big Planet. But like you said, they're doing a platformer. It's not as customizable as Little Big Planet. I don't think they're trying to steal anything. I honestly think it's just a coincidence that they visually remind you of the other game.
Good point. And we're going from that little cute world of Yoshi and the Yarn into something that this was the first time in that direct video I was like, wow. And that was when the guy was sitting there, and forgive me, I can't pronounce his name, but he's sitting there talking about the past of Zelda and talking about all the Zelda games and whatnot. And he's sitting there, and then all of a sudden he snaps his fingers, and wow!
Yeah.
And here we are at Link Zelda meets Skyrim, an open world, true open world Zelda game. What?
I know.
What?
Right? I know.
God, the whole point of, I know this has been done in video games for the longest time, and this is the kid in me when I was watching that E3 conference, and I can't remember what system it was. I don't know if it was the GameCube, and they showed that fight between Ganondorf and I'm sitting there like, wow, this is what Zelda's all about. It's gritty. It's Batman Begins like. It's intense. It's nice HD graphics and whatnot. And then all of a sudden they came up with Skyward's right. They came up with that one, and I'm like, what happened? And so seeing this vast open world of Link being able to be surrounded, if you see a mountain, you could get to the mountain type of deal. That's was something that got me excited about. Now, I never played Skyrim, but I'm like, anything Link's involved, I am down to join your adventure, Link. And that video was amazing.
This game is gonna is gonna really boost the Wii U. And it's a great example of going back to basics and taking a step forward at the same time.
Oh, I agree with you on that. I mean, this is all about... See, this is what I like about Nintendo. Is even though they're late to the party, and this is the same thing with Apple, even though they're late to the party, they know how to do it right.
They know their properties. I mean, it was great that they admitted it themselves, tongue-in-cheek, with the Robot Chicken segues between the presentations. I thought it was great show of sense of humor on their side. That yeah, we know we stick with the old stuff, but it works.
Exactly. Now I was going to probably bring up this point later in the podcast, and I might say it again, but I remember I was making fun of you this whole time. I was like, dude, Nintendo's dead. Nintendo's dead. Why did you buy the Wii U? It's a waste of money. And this is why you buy a Wii U.
Exactly.
The Nintendo mascots are no joke. They sell systems. They move systems. They've been doing it forever. And Link shows up and just says, this is how we sell Wii U's here in Nintendo. And I'm sorry. I owe you an apology.
Oh, apology accepted. No worries. But you did have a good point about the possibility of Nintendo losing it, because I remembered when I said all of their properties do so well. When was the last time you heard about a Nintendo game not doing well? I totally forgot about Metroid the Other M. That is probably the only Nintendo first-party mascot who had with the game did not do so well. And I think even though it did okay, I think Nintendo took that to heart, and that's why Zelda took so long to come out. I think they took note of that. Like, no. We really need to hone what's going on here, make sure everything is the way we want it. And even though this new Zelda is going to be cel-shaded, they're still pushing the graphical engine. It doesn't look like Wind Waker. It just looks like almost like a cartoon version of Twilight Princess.
And I can't wait. And you said something earlier. Is going back to the basics, is taking a step back, looking at everything, and going forward. And the way Nintendo has done that was with their next game that they announced, and that's Mario Maker. It's pretty much Mario Maker allows you, the player, to make your own 2D game. Now, I know there's a lot of computer kind of engines and all these kinds of stuff like that you could do on the PC to make your own Nintendo game already, but Nintendo takes that power, puts it into something easy as a console, and allows you to make the best game, the best 2D side-scroller ever, and make your own levels. And I was sitting there like, man, this is Mario Paint all over again, and I was into this.
Exactly, yeah. As soon as I saw the little fly going in the corner, I was like, this is exactly like Mario Paint. And then sure enough, later, if it's a little Easter egg there, you see a fly swatter hit that fly, and all I could remember was that fly swatter game in Mario Paint, which I rocked at. And, you know, with that in mind, you know, I wonder if they're going to bring in that little music editor that they had in Mario Paint, which would be awesome. You know, make your own new Mario level theme music.
Oh, that would be cool. I didn't think about that. That's awesome.
Well, if they did that, I don't know. But, you know, at first, I heard about the Direct before I saw it. So when I heard about, oh, you get to make your own Mario level, I wasn't too excited. I was like, yeah, whoop-de-doo. You did that in Excite Bike. And then I saw it, and then how you can convert it between classic Mario and the new generation of Mario. I was like, okay, you're winning me over. And then I saw the little fly. I'm like, okay, all right, I think I like this.
It's funny. My favorite part of the video is when the guy, whoever created the level, put a little blocks at the castle so he couldn't go in.
Yeah.
So it just shows that Nintendo knows that there's trolls out there. And I'm excited to see what Nintendo can do to this. If they could do it like Little Big Planet 3 and have a lot of community created levels for you to play, for you to try. I think that's awesome. And on top of that, when Nintendo announced that they're going to allow YouTubers out there to put out their product and share the revenue of all their ads that they're doing for these videos, then that's going to be awesome for Mario Maker, because then you could show your creativity and, make your own levels and then challenge people to play it. So I think this is a great game. I mean, Nintendo's realizing that there's a huge audience of people wanting to create stuff just like in Minecraft. So I cannot wait to see what Mario Maker does in the future.
Yeah, totally.
All right, so speaking of some craziness futures, and I'm really on fire with some segues today. The future of first-person shooters. This is probably the most unique way to play the video game, and it is from pretty much a junior development team. It's called Splatoon, which offers a new spin on 4-player arena combat, and it's Squid Ink. So pretty much the way, for those of you who haven't ever watched it, it's pretty much a kid's game where you have to spray the arena with ink, and each team has its own separate color, and you're a human and a squid at the same time. You have the ability to switch, and as a squid, you can swim into the ink, but only your own ink, and the match ends with pretty much there's a timer, and whoever has the most ink in the arena. It's really difficult to explain, and it's really simple though at the same time, but wow, what an awesome way to bring first-person shooting for the kids into Nintendo. I mean, this game was awesome looking.
SanchoWest fans out there, I'm telling you, you have to see this game in action. Us talking about it does it no justice. That little presentation they did, my jaw continually dropped as they said, oh, and you can do this. Oh, and then we thought about what if you could do this. Oh, and then we decided it'd be cool if you could do this. Because when it started, I was like, ho-hum, this doesn't really seem that great. But they impressed me more and more with each step. I can guarantee you I'm going to pre-order this game.
Oh, I mean, I was sitting there just because I love new IP multiplayer games. That's something that I'm all about. When The Last of Us came out and it was freshly brand new with all the different skills, I was like, awesome. So when I'm watching this game, and as you're right, as the video progresses, they keep showing you different weapons. And I mean, it was hilarious. There's a person with a big paint roller literally just running around making ink paint, and then people following that person, and then there's paint bombs, and there's all this kind of crazy stuff, and and the way you could just move around the map. What I like about it is because it's fresh, it's new, it's not boring, and I cannot wait to get my hands on it. And I wish I was on E3 to play that game, because I heard a lot of people on the Twitter universe or Twitterverse were just glowing about Splatoon. Granted, there are a lot of people out there who are thinking 30 thoughts about Splatoon, but come on. It's a children's show. There are kids here.
Are you going to use dirty thoughts to segue into your next bit now?
Well, yeah, speaking of dirty things, we're going to talk about the devil. See? There you go. Segue. This is something that you don't know anything about because it was not on the direct feed, but this was IGN kind of had this as an exclusive when they revealed it, and again, I mean, it's a game, and let me go ahead and tell you what's about, Dr. Bacon, and tell the people out there what it's about. It's pretty much one of those mature titles that's exclusively on the Wii U that makes me want to buy the Wii U just for this game, and it's just pretty much hardcore third-person action. When you're aiming, it goes to first-person action. It has swords, it has guns, but the multiplayer, again, is very interesting to me. Has a lot of customizations. You could customize your player, you can customize your weapons, you can rock around with a katana, a tomahawk. Kind of has a Half-Life feel to it in terms of what it is. It's like Uncharted mixed with Battlefield, mixed with Half-Life, mixed with Loadout, mixed with a lot. It's very cartoony at the same time, but it's brutal. And I was just watching that, and I was like, wow. This is awesome, because Nintendo was like, okay, we know that there is still a hardcore, mature gamer base out there, and I think this would be the perfect game to get all those people who love Uncharted, who love all those other games that I mentioned, out to at least check into a Wii U. So you should check that out as soon as you can. The Devil's Third, it's kind of amazing, and it's supposed to be made by someone from Tecmo. I can't remember the name right now of this company, but this guy he's pretty much the gangster. I mean, the way he was on IGN, he had the sunglasses on indoors. He had that Japanese Yakuza vibe to him. And I was like, man, this guy's serious. He knows about video games. But that's my thing, and I'm pretty much very excited for that. My concern about it, though, my worry about it, is that sometimes there's a lot of these games that have a lot of hype behind it, especially that they're supposed to be geared towards hardcore gamers. And the more, in terms of a Wii U, the more you gear towards hardcore gamers, it ends up turning people off. So we'll see what happens. I mean, I'm just excited that the Wii U is probably getting some kind of a mature basis. I mean, you could think of numerous titles on the Wii that were said this is supposed to be the hardcore gamers game, and they keep touting it out there, and it just fails miserably because the mechanics are just awful. You can't just throw like cuss words and whatnot, and blood and gore, and for it to be a hardcore gamer game. So we'll see where this one goes.
Yeah.
All right, well, that wraps up all the stuff that we liked from the direct feed, and there's a lot of other games, so we're going to go ahead. And it's time, Dr. Bacon. Are you ready to enter the lightning round?
Oh, boy. Okay.
That's my sound effect for it.
It was horrible.
I know.
I think you need to just put in a sound effect.
Okay, how about this? Is that better?
Yeah, totally better. Yeah, let's keep that one.
All right, this is the lightning round. This is called Hype or Meh. So basically, Dr. Bacon, I'm going to give you the title of the game, and based on what you heard about it, you just simply say hype and or meh, and you give out a little bit of something what you think about it. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and down the list of the games they announced on the Nintendo Direct feed. First up is Captain Toad the Treasure Tractor.
I give it both hype and a meh. Hype because the game does look interesting. I want to play it, but meh because as much as I like Toad, I don't think I could stand that voice for an entire game.
So you give it a high.
I give it a hey. That almost sounded like Hyman. I don't give it a Hyman, but I give it a we'll see.
We'll see. That's a guy. I mean, the problem is, again, it's a sub. It's not even a sub mascot. It's a sub mascot. I mean, it's not as bad as like a Dry Bones or a Shy Guy.
He's a supporting mascot.
Yeah, I mean, is it a dude? Is it a girl? It always changes for me, but between different games. I mean, like even in the cartoon show, it's like all of a sudden he's like, "Yeah, Mario, I'm gonna kick you." It's like, where does this voice come from, Toad? You're supposed to be all friendly, like, and all of a sudden you sound like you're coming from Brooklyn. What's up with that? You remember that? You remember the cartoon show? He's like, "I show you, Bowser." Oh, whoa, man.
When they got rid of Captain Lou Albano and it became the Super Mario Brothers 3 cartoon show, I stopped watching.
Yeah. Let's do the Mario.
Because on a side note, I want Mauser and Wart to come back.
Do the Mario. Kids won't get that, man.
Yeah, people make the joke about too many Mario games and Bowser kidnapping the princess constantly. Yeah, well, let's bring back Wart. I want to see him as a villain again.
Oh, that's not the Super Mario Brothers 2 guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, good point. All right, next one here it is. It is Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire.
Meh.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Ruby and Sapphire, they were my least favorite in the Pokemon series, but also at this point, you know, the 3DS has the technology. Can we at least have a realistic sounding animal? If not the Pokemon sound from the actual anime? I'm tired of hearing. No, give me at least make it somewhat realistic sounding for the Pokemon.
Here's the only thing I have to say: give me Pokemon Snap. Anything else, I'm not dealing with. Dude, imagine the gamepad with the technology. You pointing it around the room, and you get to look for Pokemon. Come on, dude, it writes itself.
That'd be cool.
Moving on. Next one up. Mario Party 10.
Hype for my family when they come to visit. Yeah, because I'm not really gonna play it much, but when my folks come to visit and my nephews and nieces come, this is gonna be what keeps them busy.
I agree. Total hype for me. The only my memory from Mario Party is getting blisters on my palm of my hand. Doing this. I remember they actually send out baseball gloves to people if you send in a picture of your injury and the proof of purchase of Mario Party. They actually sent you baseball.
Oh, that's
gloves.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And now, don't get me wrong. My hype isn't because it'll keep them busy. I'll still play with them. It's just like you said. You weren't really a fan of Nintendo. All of my friends here in Austin, you know, that's essentially the same thing. I don't have any friends to come over and check this game out with me. So that's why I mean hype for when my family comes to visit.
Awesome. Here it is. Next one up is Bayonetta 2.
I give it a meh. I think it looks cool, but I think they didn't think it was going to sell too much, so that's why they implemented being able to play the first one as having Bayonetta in a costume of a Nintendo mascot.
Cosplaying costumes. That seems to be the new trend in some of the video games, especially with Capcom. I'm indifferent in this act. I never played the first one, so it's a man for me, but simply because I never played the series. And the last one, Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
I'm gonna give it a hype. I'm not sure I want to see more of it, but I'm gonna give it hype.
I mean, Kirby's one of those ones that a lot of people, he's like a mascot that people forget that he's a mascot. Like, oh yeah, Kirby, man, that guy's awesome. Because Kirby is only popular, his popularity is only based on because he's in Super Smash Brothers.
You know, I gotta tell you, he's been around since the NES days, and a lot of people tend to forget that, but I had a friend of mine, any iteration of Smash Brothers, he'd pick Kirby, and no one could touch him, and I hated Kirby for that.
I would say a certain generation does not know he has his own game, and he is like a strong mascot, especially like Kirby's Dream Land.
Yeah,
My favorite Kirby game was Kirby's Dream Golf Course, a Dream Course. That game is amazing. I love that game. Every time I could get it on the emulator, I play that game for a long time. That's one of my favorite games on the Super Nintendo is Kirby Dream Course. Yes.
Nice. Now, Sancho, for Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, I think that one, like Yoshi, it might be the first game of Kirby's that I'll check out.
Fair enough. I mean, it definitely wins for the title of E3.
Kirby?
Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
It won the title for E3?
Sounds like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom.
I didn't know that.
No, I'm talking about... No. I said me personally, just the title itself. Sounds like Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse.
Yeah, but Temple of Doom was the worst of the three. I'm not including the fourth one.
We are crashing. All right, on that note, we're going to go ahead and take a small musical break. Basically, you could just hit the pause button while this music plays us out, and we'll be right back. And we're going to cover some news, and of course, we're going to cover some quick save questions to wrap up the podcast. All right, here comes the music. All right, and here we are. We are back. Thank you guys for so far tuning in. Yes, welcome back. And don't forget to hit the hashtag #AskAmigos. We haven't got any yet, but that's cool. That's cool. You know, comment below. Hit us up on the Twitter. I'm not okay. I already cried already. I'm fine.
My feelings aren't hurt.
I'm fine. Hashtag #AskAmigos, and that way you could be involved in the show that we have here going. And also a quick note for people looking on the SoundCloud wondering where is episode 1. Well, SoundCloud only enables to have about 100 minutes up on the channel at once. So if you're looking at to be a SoundCloud user of this podcast, simply download it. That way you'll always have it. But again, my YouTube channel will always have everything, so do not worry. You go to playlist, CheckPoint Amigos podcast. All right, now that we got that out of the way, it's time to check out the news. And here we are in the news, the first news story of the day. We're only going to break down 2 today, and they're big ones. And they're all movie-related, Dr. Bacon, something that I know you enjoy. And this is what you brought up to me that I kind of overglanced, and you were like, this is big news. You need to say it. I'm like, all right, I'll break it down. So here it is. There has been a new report that was dropped a couple of days ago, which claims to outline DC and Warner Brothers movie plans for the next several years, including the status of films based on Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, The Justice League, and more. According to the well-known entertainment reporter Nikki Fink, she has unearthed what is coming up at Comic-Con next month for the DC WB. Note that Fink says a lot of stuff remains in flux, but here's what she's reporting in studio schedule looks like. In May 2016, Batman vs. Superman. July 2016, Shazam. Christmas that same year, Sandman. May 2017, Justice League. July 2017, Wonder Woman. And in Christmas that year, Flash and Green Lantern team-up movie. And of May 2018, Man of Steel 2. So, it looks like we are on the cusp of a big Warner Brothers run. So, why did you want to bring this to my attention? What's your thoughts on this, Dr. Bacon? Let the people know what you think.
This is a big moment. Whether this is just a rumor or if DC let this rumor leak out, whether they like it or not, they're going to have to address it at Comic-Con. They can't just ignore it because they know even at the panels, someone's going to bring it up. So because of this, whether it's true or not, I think we're going to have a gigantic announcement at Comic-Con. It could be this, could be maybe just more cast members, might even be a teaser trailer of some sort, you know, maybe just a CGI intro of Dawn of Justice or something along those lines. But if this is true, it gives you a glimpse into why there's so many postponements. You know, look at the bottom of that list there. Man of Steel 2. Now, if it's true, now we know why this next Superman movie isn't being called Man of Steel 2. It's not Man of Steel 2. It's essentially World's Finest leading into Justice League.
Yes, and I remember during our first, I would say, pilot podcast I think that aired, I don't quite remember, but we talked about this, that the first thing was going to be World's Finest, and that was Batman versus Superman. But here's the thing that I think is quite interesting. I mean, we've been seeing a lot of these random leaks coming out, you know, The Rock saying he's going to be in the DC movie, The Rock talking about hashtagging Green Lantern. And so, you know, not only that, you know, we've seen all these contract deals that the Wonder Woman actress is currently signed on to play 2 or 3 movies. So that would explain her maybe appearing in Batman versus Superman, and then in Justice League, and of course, and then her
Justice League and Wonder Woman.
Right.
Exactly.
And then showing up in her own movies. So here's the thing. I think Warner Brothers, they know that if they play everything, if they lay everything out, and they kind of have the formula thanks to Marvel, if they play their cards right, then they're going to have all these films are going to build and build and build right on top of each other. But here's my concern. Just looking at this lineup, where does Shazam and Sandman come in? I mean, doesn't Sandman kind of lead up to Dark Justice League? Wouldn't that be the kind of the entry or the Trojan horse into that franchise?
Shazam totally makes sense to me. He's totally a Justice League member. I totally see it. Sandman, I agree. That one has me curious. And that's all I can really say. I'm very curious about Sandman in there.
Right, because it's just it's so random to have him in there. But, I mean, and everything else is all Justice League Center. So I'm very excited. I mean, do you, and sorry for putting you on the spot, what kind of storyline, because I'm finding it very interesting, that Flash and Green Lantern can do together in a movie?
Well, Flash and Green Lantern, if they go along the lines of Barry Allen and Hal Jordan, they're besties. So, and they can share enemies. So it could be, you know, if it's after Justice League, it could be quite essentially a buddy cop movie. Because Barry Allen works as a police officer, and Green Lantern, he's essentially a cop for this sector of the universe. So, not to say they're going to make it a comedy, but it could be basically what if Man of Steel had a lot of funny moments in it. That's kind of what I see. I'm really looking forward to that. But also, backtracking a little, Sandman, I wouldn't necessarily say he leads up to Dark Justice. He was in the original Justice League. But nowadays he's part of the Justice Society. He's one of the old school superheroes. So when they say Sandman, I'm very curious because in the terms of what the teams are now, he's more Justice Society rather than Justice League. Justice Society being a lot of the old school superheroes and younger ones like Stars and Stripes, where it's the Stripes is the girl and Stars is her dad in the big robot outfit.
So who do you want to see play Shazam?
Oh man, I have no idea. I love Dwayne Johnson, but I don't see him as Shazam. His comedic chops are okay. He can be comedic, but he doesn't have the naivety that the 10-year-old Billy Batson has. I can see him as Black Adam. I don't know if he'd be right casting, but I prefer him as Black Adam. Other than that, honestly, I would rather see him as Lobo. I think he's perfect for Lobo.
A lot of the people have been thinking that he might play Green Lantern, though.
If he went Green Lantern, you know, they don't even have to go with one of the ones they've already established. That's one of the beautiful things about Green Lantern is as long as you've got, you know, the right heart, I guess you could say, you can be a Green Lantern.
So would we ever see a Death of Superman movie, Dr. Bacon?
I hope not.
Go on.
I hope not, because one, they already tried it with the animated version, did not go over so well. The only reason the comic book version went over so well was because it was Superman. one of the biggest superheroes ever, the one that no one thought could ever die, and here he is dying. And everyone thought that was going to be it. If they were to do a movie version, no one's going to walk away thinking, "Oh, Superman's dead," cuz everyone knows that he eventually came back. So I don't think it would work as a movie.
All right, on that note, we're going to go ahead and move on to our next breaking news. And here it is. Harrison Ford, Mr. Fantastic. This is incredible guy.
Fantastic.
Suffered an ankle injury while filming the next Star Wars installment, Disney Studios said Thursday.
Not fantastic.
Disney Studios said Thursday, Ford, 71, is reprising the role of Han Solo that brought him the fame in the 1977 movie Star Wars. Yada, yada, yada. The injury happened on the set of Star Wars Episode 7 Thursday. A Disney statement said he was taken to the local hospital and has received care. Shooting will continue as planned while he recuperates. And right now, this little snippet does not say that he actually hurt himself on the Falcon door. Oh, Harrison.
Let me say this. The guy's 71. One, okay, it's kind of expected that he might be a little brittle, but two, he's 71. He doesn't look a day over 50. Man, that guy ages gracefully.
Dude, that's a good point. I mean, wow. Harrison Ford is 71 years old, and he did. I mean, Indiana Jones just recently, a couple of years ago, not a couple of years ago, but maybe like 5 years ago. But
and he's gonna do it again soon.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm excited about Star Wars, and I wanted to bring this up to you because this is kind of a interesting story. And let me go ahead. I want to put on my conspiracy theory, my tinfoil hat on, if you don't mind.
Go for it.
But there's a lot of things about Star Wars that are coming out. A lot of leaked, air quotes, leaked photos, all this leaked stuff. And it's keeping Star Wars Episode 7.
With hints of the Millennium Falcon?
Right, everything. All those kinds of things. Everything is in the news. And here's the deal. If Disney didn't want it in their news, they will not let it in the news. So is this injury to Harrison Ford, maybe he got a little bump or maybe he got a little sprain on the ankle, is this injury more propaganda or more stuff to get the people excited about Star Wars Episode 7, even though it doesn't need it? So why is all this happening?
That I don't think so. Because once you bring in a hospital, you're going to have a lot of hospital staff. They don't have to sign anything, as far as I know. They don't have to sign any confidentiality agreements because they're not seeing anything. They're taking care of a patient. So once Harrison Ford goes to that hospital, they're not saying anything about Star Wars. They're talking about this patient that they have.
You think Harrison Ford was just all grumpy as hell going into the ambulance? I see you in hell. I mean, I'm really excited about this. I mean, especially when Mark Hamill, he came out and he had that beard going on. I was like, yeah, Luke Skywalker with the beard.
And he lost weight.
Yeah, he lost weight, and Carrie Fisher's losing weight too. So, I mean, it's going to be ultimate hype, but I just find it interesting, you know, Harrison Ford, the toughest guy, the toughest SOB in the Star Wars universe, gets hurt on his own damn ship. So it's like, come on, Solo.
In the terms of what we walk away with for Episode 7, I think we're finally going to get what everyone was hoping for with Episode 1.
That's true. I mean, this is what it has to do. It has to, I mean, what we were talking about when it erases everything that was wrong. Oh, like X-Men, Days of Future Past. I said fuchsia.
I don't think it's going to erase the first 3 episodes out of existence, but it'll sure make up for it. And I will go on record saying I am a fan of the first trilogy. Sorry, not the first trilogy. The first 3 episodes. I like 1, 2, and 3.
Well, I want J.J. Abrams to give us a Jedi mind trick and tell us just forget about. One thing that I have said is that a lot of people need to check out if they could find, and it disappeared off the internet, was Topher Grace made this supercut of his own version of Star Wars, and I thought it was a fantastic idea. Just starting at the end of Episode 1, getting rid of all the midichlorian BS, getting rid of all the Nubians or whatever, all that mess, getting rid of all of that stuff of Naboo, and just starting with the epic lightsaber battle, and not centering the story around Anakin and using Obi-Wan as some sort of like a detective. I think was a brilliant idea, and I actually saw a little bit of it before they took it off the internet. So I mean, Yeah, I saw a little bit of it. They kind of put it up, and then someone stupid did this. What I mean, if Disney doesn't want it up, they'll take it down, and so they took it down. But I saw about an hour of it.
Well, don't forget, there's also, you can watch it in the order of what's known as the machete order. And it's what it is some guy out there, I forget his name, but I believe his last name is Machete. He put it in an order where you should watch the episodes, and he omitted episode 1. And his order is 4, 5, 2, 3, and 6. And I watched it that way, and it's such a great setup because you've got 4, starting with Luke, going into Empire, ending with him finding out that, oh, spoiler, Darth Vader is his dad. And then you go into 2 and 3 and seeing what led Anakin Skywalker to his downfall of becoming Darth Vader, and then you pick up. So it's essentially a big flashback in the middle of Star Wars. I think it's a great way to watch this series. But also, kind of going back to what you were saying about J.J. Abrams fixing it, what, you know, in a better world, what if you took a play out of George's book and messed with his new trilogy and did a J.J. Abrams version of episode 1, 2, and 3.
I mean, he's already wearing the plaid shirts like George Lucas. He's going to become George Lucas. That's what he's working on. And a little quick...
He's J.J. Lucas.
J.J. Lucas. Well, one thing that I find interesting is they are talks... There's rumors that Simon Pegg's in the cast, so he's already blending lines between his Star Trek cast with the Star Wars cast, which is... I don't care at this point. I mean, maybe if I was younger and maybe when... I'm thinking at this point, as we get older, I don't care what's better. Star Trek and Star Wars are both fantastic, and why can't you be a fan of both?
Exactly. DC and Marvel.
Exactly. And see, that is what we call a callback from the first podcast, ladies and gentlemen. All right, now time to move on to the last segment of our podcast, and it is the quick save questions of the day. So, I doubt this answer's changed because I only talked to you a week ago, unexpectedly. This is a new podcast, but what game is currently in your system? Is it still Watch Dogs?
Still Watch Dogs.
Right now, I'm currently working on Destiny Alpha, so I can't wait to release some of that footage for you guys. I just got into the alpha, so I am excited for that, and B Magic has been saying that it's a pretty damn sweet game. And are you getting Destiny?
I'm not sure. I saw one trailer. I gotta do a little more research on that one.
Fair enough. All right, what movie besides Guardians of the Galaxy you're excited for?
22 Jump Street.
Ooh, I want to see that movie too, and it just came out this weekend. I heard rave reviews for it. That's probably the funniest movie of the summer. Granted, there's not a lot of competition out there, but I love. There's something about Tatum and Jonah Hill that just works for me. Before we move on to the next question, what do you think of the new Dumb and Dumber trailer?
I was happy but not excited.
I do know what you mean. The problem is it has a lot of Three Stooges humor, and that's not what the first one was about. Dumb and Dumber was funny because it was so subtle, and I know it had childish humor about it. It had fart jokes and all that kind of stuff, but it was so naive. That's what made it work for me.
And it's only the first trailer. You know, I'm sure we'll get some better trailers. Hopefully, you know, they don't, you know, throw all the good bits in the trailer and ruin the movie.
This is true. And man, do they look old. Oof. All right, and here's the last question. First Nintendo game out of all these announced, and they were out right now, and you could go get them at GameStop or at Target or wherever, which game would you buy and open and put in your system first out of all the ones we talked about?
Well, I've already got it pre-ordered. Smash Brothers.
Ooh, that's the way to end it. Way to go. I can't wait. And I don't know if you know this. They announced Pac-Man. Pac-Man's in the game now.
Why is everyone so excited? As soon as they announced the company that was working on Smash Brothers, I said, oh, they're probably going to put Pac-Man in the game.
You're the Nostradamus.
Everyone got excited. I saw it more of it. I saw it more as a, yeah, I know.
Well, I'm excited, Mr. Know-It-All.
I'm looking forward to it. I like his moves already.
Yeah, I know.
But I just wasn't surprised.
Oh, all right. I need to have you more on the show. That way you could give out more predictions. What's the next prediction next going forward?
I got nothing now. But I remember I called two things in the Nerds, Geeks, and Dorks, etc. group. I called two things. I remember that. Having a hard time remembering what they were, though.
Oh, he could predict the future, but he can't remember the past. Dr. Bacon, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, one of them was a spoiler for Arrow. I said, oh, what if so-and-so turns out to be this person? Like 2 weeks later, oh, so-and-so is this person.
Well, too bad you can't remember. Well, that wraps up this episode.
No, I'm not saying it because I was afraid it's a spoiler.
Nope, you can't remember. Thank you guys for being awesome. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate the time you spent and giving us about over close to 1,000 views the first go around. So we do appreciate it. And thanks to those that download on SoundCloud. Anything to say before we go, Dr. Bacon?
No.
And that's it. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Oh, yeah. Peace.